I gave her the world. She gave me a t-shirt. I spent months planning the perfect birthday for my wife, Elena. Not out of obligation but love. 4 years of marriage had taught me that real intimacy isn't grand declarations. It's the little things done consistently. But this time I wanted something grand. Something unforgettable. Every decision, from the theme to the glassware, came from me. Every dollar, every sleepless night, every email to vendors. Fueled not by duty, but by the desire to remind her that she was the center of my universe. The venue was a rooftop in the heart of the city, with a panoramic view of the skyline at dusk. The kind of place that makes people pause mid-conversation to just breathe it in. I booked it 6 months in advance. A 5-tier cake, commissioned from a pastry artist, blended her favorite flavors: chocolate ganache and Madagascar vanilla, layered with edible gold leaf and adorned with sugar flowers. Nearby stood a champagne tower, each glass catching the fairy lights I'd paid extra to string above the terrace, glowing like constellations. I had flowers flown in, blue Himalayan poppies and silverleaf orchids, just because she once said she wanted them in her wedding bouquet but couldn't afford them back then. She walked in wearing the dress we had picked out together 3 months prior. Midnight blue, elegant, soft satin that kissed her silhouette with every step. Her hair was swept up just the way she liked it, a few strands loose, catching the light like it was meant for her. I watched from across the terrace, sipping water to stay present. Guests, 60 of them, mingled, laughed, toasted. Some were family, some old friends, others familiar from work or our university days. It was the kind of gathering that felt cinematic, glamorous but intimate. And for a moment I thought, this is love. This is what marriage is supposed to be. The quiet fulfillment that comes from making someone else feel radiant. Then she walked to the microphone. She tapped it twice. The crowd hushed. I leaned forward slightly, already smiling, expecting a speech that might include me, a word of gratitude, maybe even a mention of the work I'd poured in behind the scenes. Instead, she raised her glass and said, "I want to toast someone who's been my rock this past year. Someone who's seen me when I've been invisible to others. Damon Rivera." My ears rang. A name I barely registered before. Just a colleague she sometimes mentioned in passing. A guy from her marketing team. She smiled wistfully. "Damon, you've been my compass through storms. I wouldn't be standing here without you." The crowd clapped. I didn't. I stood still, staring at her with a growing tightness in my chest. Waiting, hoping she'd now pivot. Maybe say, "And of course my husband." But she didn't. Instead, she looked toward me with a coy grin and held out a small black gift bag. "For you, my love," she said, her tone breezy, teasing, as if we were playing out a punchline in front of an audience. People chuckled in anticipation. I reached in, pulled out a neatly folded designer t-shirt. Across the front, in bold white letters, "Divorced." The air shifted. Laughter came, some uneasy, some loud. She laughed too, soaking in the spotlight like she'd just delivered a perfect stand-up routine. My hands didn't shake. Not then. Not yet. But something cold settled beneath my ribs. Deeper than betrayal. This wasn't just a joke. This was her announcement. I looked at the shirt, then at her. Then I walked to the cake table where I had left my real gift. A Cartier bracelet, gold, understated, timeless. The kind of thing she once whispered about in passing, never expecting to own. I placed it gently next to the cake, where everyone could see it. And then, without a word, I turned and walked out. The night air was sharp, almost medicinal. Kept walking. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew exactly what I was leaving behind. She hadn't made a joke. She had delivered a statement. And I refused to stand there pretending it was entertainment. In the weeks that followed, I quietly dismantled the remnants of our shared life. I'd already begun collaborating with Sasha and Omar on a software startup, pouring my free hours and savings into something real. Something that didn't make me feel invisible. The work was challenging, absorbing, and more importantly, mine. An hour after that party, Mark, an old friend from college, texted me. He had overheard at the office that Damon, her so-called anchor, had resigned. Just up and left. No announcement. Elena apparently was struggling. Her performance was slipping. No one knew the details, but it didn't take much to read between the lines. She had tethered herself to someone who wasn't meant to stay. And now she was adrift. I didn't feel vindicated. But I didn't feel sorry for her either. Focused on work. On rebuilding. I started running again. Mornings mostly. 6 miles and counting. Each stride burning off anger, resentment, grief. Replaced by something harder. Cleaner. Focus. One evening Lisa, one of the few mutual friends I hadn't cut off, called me. Hesitant. Apologetic. She started a podcast, she said. I didn't respond. It bombed, Lisa continued. Only 1 episode. People in the comments are mocking her. Talking about the party. The t-shirt. I said nothing. Just let her words drift. She's trying to rebuild her brand, but it's not working, Lisa said. I thought you should know. I thanked her and ended the call. She was crumbling, 1 post at a time, 1 failed attempt at relevance after another. And I felt nothing. No anger. No triumph. Just distance. Then things began to shift. Gregory, my supervisor, called me into his office. You're speaking next month, he said, sliding a printed email across the desk. Nate's conference. He asked for you specifically. I blinked. He knows who I am. Gregory smiled. He does now. I walked out of his office with a kind of quiet pride I hadn't felt in years. Not because someone noticed, but because I had built something worthy of being noticed. A week later, an email arrived from a professor I'd met once years ago at a regional tech event. Now a keynote speaker and published author. He was organizing a business summit in Dubai. He invited me to guest lecture. I've been hearing your name lately, he wrote. I accepted without hesitation. That night I met Sasha and Omar at a diner. Over black coffee and worn menus we talked code and market strategy. The platform was growing. Interest was picking up. You're the reason we're making it, Sasha said, smiling. I didn't deflect the compliment. I simply nodded. I was proud of my work, and for once that was enough. My apartment now held a vision board. Pinned to it. A printout of the Dubai invitation. A blueprint sketch of the home I'd one day build. A map of Thailand. Every morning I laced up my running shoes and hit the streets. My breath visible in the cold air. My body stronger. My mind quieter. Meanwhile Elena was fading. A job. Podcast. The online persona. All slipping away. She had spent so long living on borrowed light. Now, with no one left to orbit, her glow was gone. And me. I was rising. Not in revenge. Not out of spite. But because I finally understood what it meant to invest in myself the way I once did for her. I didn't hate her. I didn't even think of her often. But sometimes when I pass by that rooftop, I remember the night I gave someone everything, and was handed a joke in return. That moment didn't break me. It made room for who I was always meant to become.